Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Tuesday, the fourth day of August 2026. I hope you're all safe and healthy today. Hope your families are safe and healthy and that the needs of you and your families in terms of food, shelter, clothing, as well as health are being met today. Blessings upon those that work in the area of health, along with first responders doing everything that they can to save lives, mostly in emergency situations. Those also that pick up garbage to keep our places clean, and those that make deliveries for our convenience. Double blessings on the men and women trying to help rescue, deliver, and recover teenagers and children who are the victims of child molestation and pedophilia. The ones who are victims of prostitution, child prostitution, pornography, human trafficking, and sex slavery. Double curses on all the perpetrators, profiteers, and perverts that create demands that cause these evil and heinous industries to exist. Finally, double blessings on the homeless. More than 700,000 men, women, children, families, senior citizens, military veterans, homeless in the United States of America. Blessings upon them, for theirs is the kingdom. So it's about the time that this starts to happen. It happens every year. And and Deuce has been a part of this bullcrap for a minute. Every time somebody's bored, they start making, trade Deuce narratives, which are, if you really care about the Knicks, you wouldn't write stuff like that, which is why I tell some of y'all, when some persons that are creating contact with the Knicks name on it, doesn't mean you have to buy it just because they're selling it. In fact, if the primary purpose is to get you to click, then the primary purpose is not a logical, thought out, understandable story. They don't care if it's true or not. The object is to get you to click on it and then hopefully pass the poison on to other people, like a dessert, like a germ or a disease. That's what they do. So when you draft a player, as the New York Knicks did with Duece McBride, you're hoping that player becomes an NBA player, number one, and then you're hoping for the upside to show in the production, and then you're hoping for them to fit not only with your team, but with your organization, with your coach. And if all of that works, you have basically a permanent piece that you could use for many years. That's what every team is looking for. Some of them, especially if you're drafting in the lottery, you're looking for a game-changing type player. Somebody that's going to bring your team to another level. It may not always be a Luka Doncic that's a prodigy, that's a phenomenon that can help you get a chip, but you're hoping for somebody that can be a part of that. Once in a while, like with Jalen Brunson, you're able to see, like the Don did, like World Wide West did, you're able to see the potential in somebody's heart and ability. So that Brunson was against you. Somebody was, some of y'all just need to argue and debate like you freaking lawyers. Look, Brunson was the beginning of what became a championship. The last piece was Karl Anthony Towns. But it all started with Jalen Brunson. So he's the cornerstone championship piece here because he's the first piece that started putting all the other pieces together. When you get a guy like that, you want to hold on to him, especially during his prime years. Because now you got a straw that stirs the pot. You got a point guard. You got a leader. Everything. So with Duece McBride, what you got when Tom Thibodeau and them chose him out of West Virginia, you got toughness, you got defense, you got jump shooting, and you got athleticism. And you got a guy that was willing to do anything to fit within the scheme of the team. He did it with Tibbs, and then he did it with Mike Brown. And of course, because of that, you can throw Deuce on an Anthony Edwards. You could throw Deuce on a Dyson Daniels or a McCollum. You could throw Deuce on a PG-13 even, or a Maxi. And not everybody could do that. The fact that you could throw him on ones, twos, or threes, especially at this level of the NBA, this level of basketball, is huge, because now you can reliably count on somebody to at least slow a guy down, like a Devin Booker. Even if he gets scored on, to make him work much harder. Then you got a guy that can come off your bench and hit 5, 6, 7 threes, as he did against Philly. So you have that along with him fitting with the team. What you don't want to do is lose that. Okay? Because the reason you're a champion is because you put enough of those guys together and you develop them, and this is your return on investment. So Deuce was an investment, as Jalen Brunson was an investment, for different reasons, but for the same result, to end up with a championship. So now, when you get airheads that are out here talking about, Deuce needs a replacement and he has diminishing trade value and stupidity like that, you don't have to buy that bull crap when you look at what the purpose is of getting him. Okay? So now Deuce is going to be 26 years old next month. Okay? He came up with the Knicks. When he came to the Knicks, when he was drafted, he was 20. So he could become a mature player on the Knicks in the same organization. You would like that, because now, especially if you have a consistent culture, which the Don has developed in New York, a consistent culture, you have a guy that fits that culture, you don't have to worry about bringing somebody else in, at least for the next, say, 4 or 5 years. So now not only do you have that, but because of how you got him and the position you got him in, you got him at a cheap price. So even if, and I think Deuce right now, when it's time for his contract, he's like $832, something like that. $832, $8 million total, or he's $540, $8 million 5 years, whichever. Either one of those numbers is dirt cheap for what he brings to the table, for what you developed out of him, for him being part of the championship equation. So now you draft it and you have somebody, some knucklehead, which I don't want to mention because they ain't even worth your time. But they mentioned Muhammad Diawara as the Deuce replacement. Deuce don't need a replacement, number one. And then this doofus said he's losing trade value. No, he's not losing trade value. Number two, let me explain why he's not losing trade value. Deuce is now going to be, I think, in his 5th year with the Knicks. So now he's acclimated. He's been used to playing with Brunson. He's used to playing with Hart. He's used to playing with all the starters. He's used to playing with Shamet. They clicked very well together in the 1.5, 2 years they played together. And now you got Alvarado with him, and you got, now you got Andre Drummond with him, so you got a fit. What does that mean? It means wins. It means wins. Wins during the regular season, but more importantly, wins in the playoffs. So you get a guy that fits, that's cheap, that's young, and you got him. He's yours. So now, why would you talk about trading that? The only way you'd be trading a person like Duece McBride under the scenario I just mentioned is if it was part of a blockbuster deal. Like he is one of like 3 pieces that's being traded for a huge piece, which the Knicks are not going for. Somebody on Karl Anthony Towns level that they would get, like if Luka was available, which he's not. You'd be looking to put a package together that probably would include Deuce. But that's not what the Knicks are doing. The Knicks just won a championship. They're not looking for another big piece. They're looking now, which again, a lot of people don't get, they're looking now for health and continuity. Until the league figures out what to do with the Cat-Brunson dynamic, there's no need for us to do anything but just continue on and stay in health with the continuity, okay? And so this is why I'm looking at this and I'm like, why would anybody even waste time on this? It's because, again, at this time of the season especially, it happens all year really, but clicks are real important now because it's a dead time of the season, because there's no games, there's no training camp, there's very little going on in the league. The Knicks still have action to do, though. So that's why we could still be with some action now, because the Knicks still looking to fill 3 spots, right? Well, really 2 spots and then 3 two-ways. And they probably won't fill all that until training camp is over. But they can fill them 2 spots though. So we're looking to see what happens there. And that the Don is working on right now. Okay, so we'll figure that out eventually. But in terms of clicks, nothing gets clicks in New York like trade talk. Listen, nothing gets clicks in New York like trade talk. And there are rip-off artists that write false narratives that know that. And I'm saying to you, just because they write it, you ain't got to read it, and you definitely don't have to buy into it. I could always tell when somebody has read the BS because they'll come to me with it. I think, and they'll make like it's their idea, though they just read it somewhere. The ultimate plagiarism. It goes on a lot. But with respect to Deuce, the real situation right now, as the Knicks stand today, $3.2 million under the second apron right now, and projected to be $7 million under the second apron for next season. Right now, Karl-Anthony Towns is going to negotiate a contract. Now, I keep saying this, but someday somebody's going to get it. He has a player option for 27-28. That's not this season. It's after this season, going to next season, for $61 million. He's eligible for a $270 million contract. Now, I'm predicting now, he is going to leave some money on the table. He's going to do that. He's not going to take the whole 270. Now, depending on how much he leaves on the table, that will decide how comfortable the Knicks can stay under the second apron and keep the whole crew, which includes also Josh Hart, who has a $22 million team option for 27-28. So if they want to keep Josh Hart, I think already, Josh is a smart guy. I mean, he jokes around a lot. He's the funniest Knick I've ever seen in all my life, for any Knick. But he understands his age, 31. He understands the money, which now he's on an $80 million deal. He's going to take less. So Josh will take a little less. Karl will take a little less. That will allow the Knicks, and then I don't know what they're going to do. They got to make a decision on Bacone Daddier now, because they got a team option for 5.3. If they don't want to sign the team option, he becomes a free agent. If they don't offer that to him, or they're going to trade him. But I don't know what they're going to do. We're going to find out. But now, with the $7 million, and I estimate Josh's real value is probably around $54 million over 3 years. He's 31, he'll be 32 in March. So $54 million over 3 years is 18 a year. So you take that, the team option was 22. You knock it down to 18, that's $4 million. So now instead of $7 million, they got $11 million. Karl-Anthony Towns is the big one though. Because, let's say, if he decided to take $200 million. See, JB left $113 million on the table. I don't know if Karl will leave that much. But let's say Karl took $200 million. It could be a 4-year $200 million. Or it could be a 5-year $200 million. And that makes a big difference. If he got a 4-year $200 million deal, that's $50 a year. Now, that means the first year is $50 million. You can take $11 million off the 61. So you got $11 million there. You got $4 million with Josh. So now that's $15 million. You had 7 to begin with. Now you got $21 million. Okay, $21 million. And then I don't know. I'm going to assume the Daddier number, because this is the thing. In this win now, and that's what we're in, sometimes you got to sacrifice future value, and Daddier is certainly future value. So you may be replacing the 5.3 with 2.4, another minimum contract. If that's the case, they're going to save about $3 million. So you take that, you got $22 million, $3 million plus that. Now you're talking about $25 million. Okay, Tyler Kolek is a team option for 2.5. I think that's safe to say they will exercise that and keep him. Then you got to deal with him next year for an extension, but not right now. So now you can build up, I guess what I'm saying, to $25 million in second apron money. Deuce is 8. Okay, that's Deuce is 8. So now you're talking about 17 million left. You're going to have some, Clarkson or Andre Drummond or some guy like that. It may not be them, it may be them, but it's going to be a minimum contract. And then you already locked in Diawara at 2.75 for next year, so you ain't worried about him. Then you put Deuce in there, now you have the same crew, the whole same crew. Starting 5, bench pieces, everybody is set. Alvarado's already set, Shamit's already set, Diawara's already set, Kohler could be set. So you have all of that already. So basically, with just a few moves, and the big joker, the big wild card here is Cat. So depending on how much of a haircut Cat takes, and so, look here, $50 million a year ain't nothing to sneeze at. It's still a lot of freaking money, man. After taxes, he's still collecting $25 a year. So it ain't like he's gonna be in the poorhouse. So there's that. And if he messes around and do it for 5 years, then now you're talking about something closer to 40 million, maybe 45 million. Now the Knicks got everything set. So I think my prediction is that Cat's going to cut enough, which doesn't have to be everything. He's going to cut enough from his potential to let everybody sign. And like I said, if he comes in at 50 million, that's enough. Josh already stated publicly he knows he's going to have to take less. Okay. So now between those two guys, we got enough to sign everybody. So there you go. So you're going to have this same team this season and next season. And the Knicks are in the running for a chip both years. It ain't like, there's no way they can. No, they just won a championship. They still got the personnel. The personnel is still playing at a high level, and they will continue to for at least another 2 years. So now you got everything. Now, after the 2 years is up, Karl-Anthony Towns still have 2 years left on his deal, probably still $100 million left. Josh gonna have a year left on his deal. That's when you're gonna start seeing some changes after 2 seasons. Okay, everybody calling for trades and stuff right now for guys that are rotation pieces like Deuce are doofuses. Really, you don't do that when you got a championship team, which the Knicks have. So right now, they're just looking strategically at how they can keep the band together and stay under the second apron. Now, the gauntlet was thrown down when Dolan said, we're not going over the second apron. And I told y'all before, I believe they already knew this was going to be the case. They wanted to squeeze as much as they could out of Mitchell Robinson, which is why they were treating him with kid gloves, no back-to-backs, coming off the bench, and it worked. But they were going to lose him in free agency. The Celtics got suckered. You paying $47 million for a guy coming off your bench that's not going to be able to play full time? And they did the same thing with Kristaps Porzingis. He was getting like $50 million, and he wasn't even going to be able to play 50 games a year, but he was healthy for the playoffs. That's what Boston is counting on. Okay, so Boston got enough depth at the 5 between Cater and the kid from Iowa, I forgot his name, but Luke Garza. They got enough depth at the 5 so that Mitch Rob don't have to carry no heavy load, and he can actually come off the bench. See, so that's what they're doing. But the Knicks now will have enough, depending on what Cat does. And again, I'm predicting he's gonna leave something on the table so he can sign everybody. Okay, and if he does that, now if you hear Cat sign for $270 million, that all goes out the window. Then you might be talking about a Deuce trade, because they wouldn't be able to afford him and stay under the second apron. And you're not talking about a lot of money. You're talking about probably $8 million. Deuce has earned more than that. I mean, he's ready to get paid more than that. But if you saw Landry Shamet, you saw Alvarado, you saw what they did. They reduced their money to keep the band together. I think that spirit's going to still be on the Knicks. So you'll see Cat do it. You're going to see Josh do it. That'll allow them to free up Deuce. And believe me, they are very much aware of what I just said. They're very much aware of that. They all know that. So we're waiting to see the number that Cat's going to want to take a cut, but he wants to take the less cut that he can. He don't want to just say, okay, I'll take half the money. No. He's eligible for 35% of the cap. He can get that, he could get that, but he could take a little less. He could take like 32% of the cap. Okay, he can take like 32%, 30%, something like that. Still get paid a whole lot of money, but open it up so that other guys that can keep the band together. And that's what the thing is here, continuity. The Knicks are going to try to keep continuity and stay healthy. By the way, the boy Gershon came and left. But I really didn't understand why he came here anyway. I mean, he came here from Minnesota, right? I don't know if it had anything to do with Cat or whatever. I'm not saying the boy ain't important, but all I'm saying is he wasn't the real top of this brain trust. The top of the brain trust is the Dom, top of the pile. And then you had World Wide West, and then you got Walt Perrin, where you're getting all these second round gems from, right? And then you got Brock Aller, who handles, of course, the Cat. Those are the guys. This guy Gershon, I'm not sure. I'm not saying he was no scrub or anything, but I'm just saying his leaving don't change nothing. They still got what they need to run the thing the way they've been running. So we're going to see what happens, but the talk about trading Deuce is premature at best. So let's just see what happens and let's go from there. But please enjoy your Tuesday. We're going to see the moves the Knicks make probably in the next few weeks about filling out them last two spots. Y'all brought up a good point during one of the live streams we had with respect to Jack Kyle, because you were saying the Knicks got to buy out his European contract, and the way the rules are, there's a little bit of complications, which I don't want to go into, to have him just sign a two-way, versus he can get the second round exception money, which is like 1.5, and you can put nickel in the two-way. So we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, we really are going to see soon. Enjoy the rest of your Tuesday. Be safe out there. Shalom.